Hi, I'm Kat. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you all are well. This is today's tarot. I apologize that this reading is coming available a little bit later than usual in the day. I had some cards come through this morning that invited me to share more information than I can typically do in the 5 to 6 minute reading that I aim for, and so I needed a little bit more time to give this reading. So as I'm going to start out, I'm going to go ahead and give the 3 card reading, and then at the end, if you're interested, you can listen for that additional information that I was inspired to share regarding these cards. So the first card that we have for today is the 5 of Cups. Now, cups in the tarot system are associated with water as an element, which is associated with our emotions and our relationships. And so this card is all about where we put our attention, if we want to put our attention on that which we feel like is a sense of loss in our lives, or if we want to put our attention to that which is actually still waiting for us to realize right behind us. And so this is asking us, where do we want to make our choice and where do we want to put our attention? Ultimately, how you feel is going to be the result of where you put your attention. And so this card invites us to turn around and look at those 2 cups that are waiting for us to join right behind us and to enjoy right behind us rather than the ones that are spilt over on the ground. Now, the second card that we have for today is the Hierophant, and the Hierophant is also a number 5, but this is in the Major Arcana. Major Arcana are associated with life lessons that we have to face. It's not something that you can just kind of shrug off your shoulder to and blow off. It's something that's right in your face, and it's not something that you can look away from. That's just all Major Arcanas in general as cards. And there's 22 of them in the tarot system. Now, Hierophant is the figure of the spiritual teacher, and it speaks to social order. And ironically, we did have a big upheaval happen in social order today, but that's not what this card is necessarily about. It's also about social order in your own life and what structures you have in your own life, because it's a Taurus ruled card, and what's shifting in that area. It's also a card that rules the area of the body associated with the throat. So it invites us and asks us to speak our truth and to remember how important it is for us to actually speak our truth in daily life. Now, the third card that we have for today is the 4 of Swords. Now, swords in the tarot system are associated with the element of air, which is connected with speech and the way that we perceive things and think about things and conversations that we have. And a 4 is a number of stability. So this is a stability around thought, but it's not necessarily stability around thought in a beneficial way. It can be like an imprisonment around thought, like how we see things, and how we see things can often limit us and what we see as potential in our lives. And so when you look at this card, the figure in this card is lying down. They have a sword underneath them, and they have 3 swords above them. There's something growing, like a little pothos or philodendron of some sort, from their palms that they have in a prayer position. And then there's a stained glass window in the background, and that is, the stained glass window is the only colored piece of the entire card. So it speaks to this cold energy of the mind and how it can be isolating in the way that we see things sometimes. And what this card is literally asking us to look at is, how do you create your reality with your thoughts? And can you possibly reshape that and tweak that in a way where you get to actually nurture the potential that's there in your hands, in your greatest wish? Because we can look out in the world and say, this is what's possible because of these conditioned thoughts, or I need to do this because these people tell me this, and this is what the outside world tells me I need to do and what is right. Or we can say, I've always felt in my heart and soul that there is something that I'm here for that is really important, and that's why I decided to come here on this earth. And I know that what I'm doing right now may not exactly be it, but I'm on the path to realizing that full potential. And I will realize that full potential, and I can't wait to see what that shows up like, because that holds like a space for something to fill in that is full of possibility. Whereas when we talk about things from a place of limitation, it really does like push us away from so much that we really don't even know is out there because of how we literally see things. So the reading today is ultimately asking us, you know, like, what is the long question? What is that thing in you that you've always wanted to actualize, and can you nurture it with holding a potential space for it to grow? And can you speak about it in that way as well? Now, that's the reading for today. Now, what this brings up for me personally, and this goes into a deeper bit of the reading, but it's a really big lesson around how we use our voice, how we exchange with people with our voice, and also how we not only speak to other people, but how we also speak to ourselves. And here's why. Because the first card in the traditional tarot system, it has the 5 cups, right? 3 of them are spilt over and 2 of them are standing upright. So this is the second tarot deck that I drew when I was going through my apprenticeship. In this deck, I decided to add a tree that has leaves that are drifting away, right? And this card is all about, like, are you going to let go of the things that need to be let go of so that you can renew yourself? Or are you going to just sit there and stare longingly over at the spilt cups? And for me, the reason why I drew it this way is because I once had an experience where I was in an eco-village out in North Carolina. And there was a conversation happening, and it was something that I had something to say, but I didn't. And my friend that was with me tapped me on the shoulder and was like, yo, what's up? Like, you know a lot about this subject. Why aren't you saying anything? And I was like, I just feel this like knot. Like every time I want to talk, I feel this knot that gets like tied on my throat. And it gets tied again and again, so I don't speak. And they were like, whoa, that's pretty intense. What are you going to do about that? And I was like, I don't know. I think maybe I need to just like go in the woods and scream, right? So the next morning I woke up and I decided to walk to the area on this land that had a labyrinth on it. And I decided to bring some of my spiritual tools with me. I brought my chakra oil set that I had just made recently, and I brought some sage, and I brought some stones, and I really just brought whatever I had happened to bring with me on that trip. And I brought my pendulum, and I just brought my tools that I happened to have with me, and some water. And I started walking toward the area of the land that had the labyrinth on it. And I was really like just all in my head, and I found myself tripping over things. And so the first thing that I asked was, I asked my higher self to guide my footsteps so that I can be anchored with every step and I can walk grounded and centered. And I started walking differently. And so when I got to the labyrinth, went through the course of the labyrinth in a very centered way, sat down in the center of the labyrinth, made an offering to the labyrinth, and then I started working with my chakra oils. And this was something I was just inspired to do in that moment, and I combined working with the chakra oils with numerology, and I went through each chakra individually and smelled each oil 10 times and connected it with numerology and that chakra. And through that experience, and I'm going to round this up, you know, so I can talk about the other things, I can go more into that experience later if people are interested in knowing that whole chakra meditation, because I want to share that with people. But when I got to my throat, I got to the number 7, which is the number of learning, and I smelled the oil for my throat chakra the 7th time, and I heard the words, let go. And I had my eyes closed, And in the time that I had my eyes closed, I heard rain. And I was listening to it, but I didn't feel any rain. And so I opened my eyes, and all of the trees around me were letting go of their leaves. And that's what I heard. As I thought I was hearing rain, I was hearing the trees let go of their leaves. And so I drew a tree letting go of its leaves in this card, because we have to let go of that which isn't serving us through suffering. And it's through that letting go that we can actually see what we're here to receive and can have that open hand to receive it. And for me, it was in letting go of being able to speak my truth. And this second card is the Hierophant, and it's ruled by Taurus. And Taurus rules the throat. And there's been many, many times in my life that if I did not speak my truth, or I swallowed my words through anger, I got very unwell, and I always would get illnesses centered around my throat, like a sore throat. And after realizing that how important it was and is to speak my truth, I haven't gotten sore throats. And so it's something to consider, that how we see things and whether or not we feel like little us is important, you know, like it can be really limiting and it can be imprisoning sometimes, or it can be full of possibility. And so I invite you to consider that every situation and circumstance you're in for a reason, and there's some learning or some exchange or possibly some truth that could be shared, and that it's by sharing those truths that we ultimately get to grow and evolve as a community. So I send you a good wish today, and I send you so much love. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.